Hello, and welcome to another story time with Sky Fellowship. Um, this video might be a bit rambly. I've recorded this one again. This is my first PC one, and actually it worked well. I had way less issues with this than I did with setting up the Switch 2 and everything, but unfortunately the game's audio, even though I've not got the game audio on max or anything, it was really, really loud, and I actually fought a boss and only just won by the skin of my teeth. And it turns out when I've looked back at that footage, like, you can't really hear me. The boss is so much louder. So I've tried reducing the game's volume a bit more, and this should hopefully work this way. There's going to potentially be some spoilers in this because I'm on a randomizer at the moment, which means the bosses, the items, everything are all over the place. So I'm going to go into an actual cave that I can beat, I think, or a catacomb to be fair, one that I haven't done yet. At least obviously done yet in this file, but I don't know what the boss is going to be, and there's going to be some spoiler stuff there. The episode, though, is going to be about essentially moving on, finding new friends, finding a community. That I went on a long tangent, and I actually want to kind of go on it again because I realised that one thing led to another, and the whole point of these videos is story time anyway, so I'm never going to stop myself going on a tangent, but I realised I wasn't really talking about the actual topic, but then I figured, actually, no, I branched out so that I then added community to it, so now that I get to do this again, I just start with the community thing as well. So, and I'm going to try to avoid too much of the trigger warnings, but there's not much here that I need to talk about abuse-wise or anything. I just need to bring up what got me to actually playing Elden Ring. Basically, I've had a lot of awful people in my life, and some not so awful people who then slowly, steadily became awful people, and I ended up having to cut people out of my life completely. And one such person was a friend that I made who, they weren't in the best state mentally. The more I got to know them, the more I started to love them, and really were like just an absolute best friend. Like, people were shocked at how short a time we knew each other at the time, obviously, because it seemed like we'd been friends for years, because we knew everything, and we had so many similar opinions, so many similar vibes. Like, there's so many times where we would join a Discord, and I'd say something, and then he'd join right after in the chat whilst talking with people, and he'd say the exact same thing word for word, and people assumed that we'd like set it up, but it's like, no, it just, that's how the connection was that we had. But basically, he started online dating at some point, and they met someone, and this specific someone killed themselves, and it totally destroyed him, to say the least. It was the worst he'd ever been that I'd ever noticed mentally. It's like he was in so much therapy, having so many issues, and I did everything I could. I said to him, listen, I'll give you like a full year of my fucking life here to help you grieve, to get over all of this stuff, and all of that I thought was going fine. Everything was kind of starting to, I don't want to say get back to normal, but it was definitely starting to improve. And then eventually he started to get cold and distant and abusive towards me, and I had to completely cut him out of my life. And I was in a funk, to say the least, because of course I was. This is the second best friend I've had to cut out of my life. The first one after coming out, the second one after this. And I was in a Discord server, and a couple of trans women were playing Elden Ring, specifically fighting Malenia, the Blade of Miquella, who was never known to defeat. There are so many names in this game that I mix up and get confused with because I don't really know the story. I've played it for 650 hours, pretty much the moment, like the year when I finally got into it, I put like 650 hours in. I'm probably over 700 now. I have beat this game multiple times. I've done convergence mods, I've beat the randomizer mod so many times, and Erdtree and the Erdtree randomizer so many times, but I couldn't really tell you the story because it's convoluted, it's all over the place, the story's not really in the game, it's like lore that you have to read. I'm also struggling to remember where to go in this catacomb, so I'm just going to cut my losses and leave, because this is part of the problem when I'm trying to talk. I'm too busy now thinking how to solve this that it's making me waffle on more, which makes the video worse, so I'm just going to instead go to a different cave that hopefully doesn't have the maze thing in it. But I couldn't really tell you the story, despite how much I've actually played this game. It's One of those, though, that I don't care about the story. I put it on. I was... Right, actually, no, I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit. So let's rewind just a little bit, and I'll say... I joined the Discord, as I said, and saw these two women playing... fighting Melania the Blademaker, who was never known defeat, and I'm not going to lie, she actually hadn't known much defeat. She was absolutely destroying the two of them. I kept watching, though, and I was really, really enjoying what I was seeing and really liking... I don't think I've done this one. Sorry, the actual things now for us as well. Hopefully this... well, it shouldn't affect the audio, but this is my mod. One of my mods is out of date. It happened when I booted up, so there's going to be freezing, and I probably should address that. So I watched them playing it, and I mentioned the sorts of games that I really liked, and why I wanted to get into Elden Ring, but why I was worried, because these games are pretty ableist, to be honest. The issues that I have with my migraines, and just the inability to pause or even open your map and fast travel when you're in the middle of an area because an enemy's seen you from 15 feet away. There's loads of little things like that that I worried I'd never actually manage to play the game. So the two of them said, listen, there's a seamless co-op mod. Join our game, like we'll start a new game with you, we'll teach you some basics, we'll see if you can get into it, and just see how you go. And what happened was, I became totally obsessed. Hence obviously the playing so many hours. I had a solo file, a duo file, and a trio file, because one of them lives in Colorado, one of them lives in Sweden, so meeting up was usually difficult, and it was a case of I wanted to be able to always play the game, and I had different builds over the different files, and was using different weapons, and some were bleed builds, some were magic builds, some were dexterity builds, some were strength builds, and all of this was just before Erdtree came out, and when Erdtree did come out, all of these mods stopped working, so I lost the ability to play co-op with them, and suddenly it's like the game opened up for me. It was like, okay, so I've lost my safety net now. I was already playing through the game solo anyway, but I've lost my safety net. I'm going to get a summon in just because why the hell not. Lost my safety net, seeing as I was speaking about them, I think that's why I did it actually. And let's see if I can actually learn how to play this game myself. And that's what I did. It may not look like it right now, but I got to the point where I'm genuinely really good at this game, to the point of there's so many bosses that I've never lost to, just ever. I one and done them, and I've beat them multiple times at this point, and they just pose no threat to me. But then there's others. It's hilarious. There's things like Beal. I've never lost to Beal, but the dragon you fight before Beal kicks the fucking shit out of me all the time. I do not know what it is. That dragon absolutely ruins me. But I suddenly learned how to play the game solo, and when we finally got back to being able to actually all play as a unit again, when the mods got their patches for Erdtree, they were genuinely stunned with my progress, and it's like, yeah, that this is one of those that, now that I've learned the game, I did tell you at the start, I am naturally good at games. It's just a case of sometimes I need to learn things. Now that I've learned this, I'm good. I've got this. And we went on, and it actually changed up our dynamic completely, because we had a tank, we had a magic user, and I was supposed to be damage. I immediately flipped my position and became both damage and tank, because I play this game as Kenpachi Zaraki, which, if you know the Bleach reference, I also play the game a little bit like Nelson Muntz. Basically, the Kenpachi Zaraki is, I don't care how much I get hurt as long as I win. If I win, I don't care. Bam, end of. So I am completely crazy. I dive in head first. When I fought Rykard the first time, I didn't know why it gave me the Serpent Hunter weapon, so I just didn't use it, and I went in with these... No, it wasn't these exact claws, it was the raptor claws, and I just used claws and clawed the crap out of them, and it was really fun, but apparently I'm insane for doing things like that. And then the friends who told me that I should have used the Serpent Hunter set the fight up so I could actually use it. The boss is literally one of those things I've just fought. Now this is probably a harder thing, but anyway, it's one of the fun things about randomizers at times. Why? I just apparently was missing. So I got the point though where I've made this new community of friends, this new group of people who could actually help me with things, and it's why I wanted to make this video, because I know I mentioned it in the how to get into gaming in 2026, but it needed to be its own story time as well. Gaming really can give you friends and a community like no other, and it's why I would strongly recommend, if you have at any point been interested in this game but worried it might be a little too difficult, forget the fact that there's tryhards out there who are probably having nosebleeds at the fact that I dared summon summon Nephali just for the sake of it. I use whatever I can in this game because that's the way games work. I love the Mimic tier, for example. I love being able to summon a second one of myself and also set up like a magic version and then quickly swap my gear out to, like, there's so many fun things that you can do. There's also so many items that I just never used. I've never used the crafting system despite playing about 700 hours at this moment in time. I've never really used any of these. Like, I don't know what most of these items are. I know what the Golden Tenderhorn is. I use that to gain runes, but there's so many items that I don't know what to do because so much gets fired at you, and I think that was part of my problem. That on top of the fact that I was worried with my visual impairment, I was worried with my migraines, worried with all these ways that the game was going to punish me, and then also be incredibly difficult, and then also had all of these systems. I really needed two people, two like fabulous fucking women, to just come into my life and help me with some of the basics so that I could then get into this game, which is now honestly one of my all-time favourites. It's second to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom. It's right behind those two, and I see why as well, because I had heard, part of why I wanted to get into this game was I'd heard that there were so many clear Zelda Breath of the Wild inspirations in this game. It's quite clear that they'd played it and were like, yeah, let's kind of go for that kind of vibe. The world in this, the open world, the areas, the fact that there's 3 major locations and then there's also the DLC. There's just so much in this game. So much to do, so much to see. I don't know if it's just me on this. I really feel like this is the closest we will ever have, and I know Street Fighter 6 exists, and you already may be confused. This may be the closest thing we ever get to an open world fighting game. Because that's what this is to me. I've noticed that this is basically a fighter. And it's part of why I love it. It's part of why I love replaying it, because I will play fighting games and go through arcade mode after arcade mode. Depending on the size of the roster, I'll sometimes just sit and play a game. Like Street Fighter 2's kind of got the perfect roster size. I'll just sit and play every single one of those arcade modes until I'm done. And with Elden Ring, I'll basically start up a new file, sometimes a vanilla file, sometimes a randomizer, and just throughout the year, whenever I need a fix, essentially whenever I feel like I need, sometimes people call them like loading games, essentially. You need something to put on, to just zone out to, so you can figure out what you actually want to play. Elden Ring's that game for me. I can put it on to relax, I can put it on to have fun, I can put it on to just enjoy myself. And I know it might sound weird saying that this is a relaxing game to me, but it truly is. With the exception of one boss, the actual final boss. I dubbed the boss Princess Fluffykins when I was avoiding spoilers for my friends, but because this is the other thing as well. They got me into the game. They started Erdtree before me because I still had to beat the main game. I finished Erdtree way before them because I didn't struggle at mostly any point until I got to the final boss, the Princess Fluffykins, the Consort Radahn, is his actual name is. That thing bodied the crap out of me. I had to fully change my entire build. I'd already changed from Claws. Claws carried me through the entire main game. As soon as I got to Erdtree, I can't remember the name of the actual weapon. I call it Morgott's Gear Pride Sword because it is basically a Gear Pride Sword. It's one of the curved great swords. I was getting bodied so many times by Consort Radahn, and every time I knew what the problem was. My bleed procs were happening, and they were dealing massive damage, but they weren't happening in the right areas. I was always 3 hits away by the time I was on my last flask, because I didn't have all my flasks as well. I couldn't be bothered to find the seeds that I was missing. Maybe I should have done that, maybe it would have helped things out, but out of the... I'm trying to remember, is 14 the maximum or 12 the maximum? I either had 12 and 14 the maximum, or I had 10 and 12 the maximum. Either way, I was always running out of health. Just 3 hits too short. So I looked into a weapon class, like the weapon class I was using, the Great Curved Swords, I think they're called, or Curved Great Swords, or whatever. I'm struggling to speak now. It's been a long day, and this is definitely going to be the last video, and I'm definitely, hopefully, coming to the end of it. And I looked into one called the Dismounter, which was basically the same weapon as what I was using. Only the blood procs, they weren't as good, but they happened more frequently to balance it out. And every time I then started to use that weapon, I'd only be 1 hit away from defeating him. So suddenly it became a lot less challenging, and I managed to brute force it and finally get the clear. And just, yeah, rolling the credits on the DLC, I wished for more immediately because this game is so good. I would happily play a sequel. I've never managed to get to play Night Rain, sadly, because of the schedules of the two women that I played this game with. We've never managed to sync up once to play Night Rain, and now it's at the point where I know they've beat it, and I don't want to be that friend who's like, could you beat it again with me? I know that might sound silly, maybe I should just fucking get over it and ask, but eventually I might find people to play it with, because I would love to actually get into it, because not just the fact that I am genuinely good, I love these games so much that even if I'm bad at Night Rain, I'll get to the point where I'll get good with it. But yeah, I think I've finally like waffled on and got to the point of all the hyperfixation stuff I wanted to do and needed to do, and it seems my game is really not liking this right now. I don't know what it is. This is the most it's froze, and yeah, I seriously don't know what the issue is. I clearly need to do the updates. I'm assuming it is because Seamless Co-op is the one that's out of date, so it then impacts the other mods. And it might also be because I'm playing on ultra-wide, which, yeah, actually, I'm not done hyperfixating. I might need to apologise. If your aspect ratio looks a bit weird, I use an ultra-wide mod for the game because I have an ultra-wide monitor. I have an unlocked frame rate mod on the game. And my monitor is, like, really good graphically and HDR-wise. I have a PC that can also run this maxed out, and it is genuinely one of the most impressive games to me, beautifully, like, graphically and everything. I'm going to try to fast travel when the game lets me to the Atlas Plateau, because that's probably the easiest area I can go to try and show off something beautiful. Unfortunately, the first time I did this video, it was perfectly set up, and I've got a bad feeling it won't be the right time of day, because this is, honestly, the autumnal vibes from this area. It's just, everything about it is jaw-dropping. It really is. But yeah, now I think I'm kind of finally done with the hyperfixation. Yeah, it's kind of like rainy and muggy. It's a shame because when I first came here, I had like the full golden hues of everything. But to circle back, to finally get to my point of the thing with gaming that I really, really like, this single game kind of was like a refresh for me. It kind of allowed me to completely start again with a new friend circle, start again with the actual game, start again with just everything. And it is something that I sometimes need that as a reminder, so it's why this has become such an important game for me. For something so bleak and depressing and drab in so many different ways, with the game's actual story, the parts of the story that I do know, and the horrificness that this world is, it's also a world of beauty to me. There's just so much, so many inspiring moments, so many messages that make me really glad that I picked it up. And if you are genuinely interested in the game and worried about it being too daunting, find a community. Don't go for the people, oh, I think I've managed to set this up. Don't go for the tryhards who are going to complain about how dare you use summons or how dare you use bleed builds or anything. It's a game. You're supposed to use the things in the game. Find people who will be patient with you, who can teach you some things, look up guides, look up videos, find a community that you could even potentially play with, find someone who will Sherpa you through the game, like I was partially Sherpa'd through. Find someone who will play the Seamless Co-op with you, if, obviously, that's only on the PC. I can't stress this enough, the Seamless Co-op is the only way to really play this game. I truly think this is one of the greatest co-op games ever made, but only with this mod, and I need to go into this, but I'll try to finish one thought before moving on yet again. Find people who you can play the co-op with, who hasn't played the game before, and you can learn together. That was the end of that thought. Because when it comes to co-op in general, I truly do think this is the greatest co-op experience in gaming at this moment in time. Co-op games are becoming a dying breed. It's getting harder and harder to find them. I'm really glad single-player games exist. I love single-player games. It's mostly what I play. I used to be really good at competitive. I have loads of Fortnite videos up on my channel from when Fortnite first started. I am genuinely good at competitive games as well, but my anxiety as it's gotten worse over the years, I genuinely can't play competitive games anymore. I can only play PvE, and therefore the only multiplayer I enjoy now is co-op, and it's why I'm so gutted that Duskbloods is a Switch 2 exclusive. It's coming out on a system that I own, and I really want to get into it because of how much I love this, how much I love Lies of P. I can't really get into any of the other Soul-likes games, like Dark Souls or anything. I'm even struggling with Bloodborne. I've managed to... I can kind of get on with Bloodborne, but there's just so many issues, so many things that, again, it's like ableist game design, unfortunately. Like, as much as I love this game, I'm always going to call it out on ableist game design. It's things that really stop me playing the game that I need a modernization for, I think, or something. But either way, with Duskbloods coming out, I'm going to try it because I need to, but I really hate the fact that it's a PvEVP and I wish it was just co-op instead. And the one bit of hope is, I don't know if I'm ever going to get another Elden Ring, I truly don't, but I do know for a fact that the people who make Elden Ring are very aware that seamless co-op is not just a mod, but it's the mod for this game. It's the mod that everyone who runs it on PC eventually gets because it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, freezing and hitching aside when you need to do an update. There's a reason that people flock to this mod. There's a reason that people flock to this game. There's a reason that people want games like this in co-op. I don't know how God of War works all the way through. I was not the biggest fan of God of War 2018. I didn't enjoy the puzzles, the gameplay, the combat. I found myself getting really bored with it. So I could be wrong with saying this. Firstly, I think the kid's name is Atreus, because I always get it mixed up with Atreyu from Neverending Story. But there might be a point where Atreus gets kidnapped and it wouldn't work. But that giant epic that people love, if Atreus is all the way through it, why doesn't it have a co-op mode where one of you is playing as Atreus? I wish developers would give us co-op games as grand as this. I loved Split Fiction. Split Fiction was an amazing game. Absolutely loved it. Had it on my Game of the Year list. It was about 6, I want to say. I truly fucking loved that game. But it sucks that there's such oddities, and it sucks that when you finally get a game like this, like Elden Ring, with co-op, it's a mod that's the reason that it's co-op. These console versions have the game's basic regular co-op, and I can't even recommend playing it. It's that bad to me. It's night and day. I honestly could not believe the difference between the game's regular fucking co-op and the seamless co-op mod. It might as well not be fucking co-op, the game's regular co-op. It's just such a bad implementation of it, but that's kind of the way these games have always had co-op, sadly. So, yeah. I've waffled on, I've hyperfixated a ton, and now I'm at the point where I've got to try and find a way to end this video, and I do actually mean that literally. I've only recorded one thing on the PC, and it did work, but it took me like 4 attempts to actually end the video, so I'm going to say my closing lines here. I'm going to say, this has been another story time with Sky Fellowship. Hopefully the video has helped you out. Hopefully it's inspired you with what it was supposed to inspire you of. If you're going through a rough time, I get it. And if you need a community, hopefully this channel will eventually provide that for you. I would love to do that because the main reason, the friend that I mentioned at the start, how we actually met, it was during the pandemic. We actually created a Discord server for queer trans people to have a safe space, because suddenly people like me were trapped in homes that they really did not want to be trapped in, and it's why it sucked so much to lose all of that because of him as well, and have to start again. But at least I was able to start again, and I'd like to think that by starting this with YouTube here, that maybe I can eventually provide this community for people, because I would like to do that. It also would help me with my own social circle expanding, it, like, to be selfish for a minute. But yeah, I'm going to say this has been Sky Fellowship. Until the next time, I hope you have a great rest of your day. And now, hopefully you don't get dead air or silence or something for the next 15 to 20 seconds while I try to figure out how to end this and actually turn it off. Yeah, bye.